If you are a U.S. citizen, a permanent resident, or someone waiting on an immigration decision, this topic is important for you. Many people don't realize that, in certain situations, U.S. citizenship can actually be lost. The purpose of this discussion isn't to scare you, it's to help you understand how things really work. When you know the rules, you can feel more secure and confident about your future. Hello, I'm Sophia. Thank you for being here and trusting me to guide you through these immigration topics. Immigration policies, timelines, and updates change frequently, and even small details can sometimes have a big impact. Today, we'll explore the reality of losing U.S. citizenship, how it can happen, who it may affect, and what it truly means. We'll also touch on updates that could influence applicants, families, workers, and students worldwide. Just to be clear, this is not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer or a government official. My goal is simply to explain things in a clear and calm way so you can better understand the process without feeling overwhelmed. Many people assume that once they become U.S. citizens, their status is permanent no matter what. They receive a passport, gain the right to vote, and feel fully settled. While citizenship is very strong and protected, it is not entirely untouchable. There are laws and procedures in place to review situations where something may have gone wrong during the process. This doesn't mean authorities are actively trying to take citizenship away. It simply means that citizenship is taken seriously, and the process must be honest from beginning to end. Before discussing how citizenship can be lost, it's important to understand who qualifies as a citizen. Some individuals are citizens by birth. This includes people born in the United States, certain U.S. territories, or those born abroad to at least one American parent, who can pass on citizenship. Others become citizens through naturalization. This means they were not born citizens, but completed the legal immigration process, lived in the U.S., passed required tests, and took an oath of allegiance. Both groups are equally recognized as citizens and have the same rights. However, there is a key difference in how their cases may be reviewed. For those born as citizens, their status is generally very secure and rarely questioned, except in extremely unusual cases involving serious fraud related to identity or birth records. For naturalized citizens, there is a documented history of applications, interviews, and background checks. If it is later discovered that important information was deliberately hidden or falsified, the government has the authority to review the case again. This doesn't mean that minor mistakes or confusion will lead to losing citizenship. Authorities usually focus on intentional dishonesty, not language barriers, misunderstandings, or small errors. It's important to remember that most people never face any issues with their citizenship. Cases that do arise are typically connected to serious fraud, deception, or actions that conflict with loyalty to the United States. One way citizenship can be lost might surprise you because it is entirely voluntary. This is called renunciation. Renunciation means a person chooses to give up their citizenship. It is not something that happens by accident or due to frustration, living abroad, or expressing opinions online. The process is formal and must be completed in person at a U.S. embassy or consulate outside the country. The individual meets with an official, signs documents, and takes an oath confirming they understand their decision. There is also a significant fee involved. Once completed, the decision is permanent. People choose this path for different reasons. Some live permanently in another country and feel more connected there. Others want to simplify financial or tax matters. Some make the decision for personal or political reasons. Regardless of the reason, it is always a deliberate and personal choice. After renouncing citizenship, a person loses certain rights, such as voting and automatic entry into the U.S., and may need a visa to visit in the future. It's important to note that living abroad, holding dual citizenship, or staying outside the U.S. for long periods does not automatically result in losing citizenship. Renunciation only happens when someone intentionally completes the official process. Another situation that causes concern for many people is denaturalization. This is when the government revokes citizenship that was obtained through naturalization. This does not happen randomly or over small mistakes. It typically occurs when there is clear evidence that someone intentionally provided false information during their application process. Examples might include using a false identity, hiding a serious criminal history, or concealing involvement in harmful activities that would have affected the approval decision. When such cases arise, they are handled through the legal system. The individual has the right to be informed, to respond, and to have legal representation. The process takes time and involves careful review by the courts. Although this topic may sound concerning, it's important to understand that most people are never affected. Individuals who completed their immigration journey honestly and in good faith generally have nothing to worry about. Even if someone struggled with language or made honest mistakes, those situations are very different from intentional fraud. Another key point is that there is no strict time limit for reviewing past cases. If serious new information emerges, older applications can be revisited. However, this does not mean authorities are constantly searching for reasons to revoke citizenship. It simply reflects how seriously the system treats honesty in the process. If you followed the rules, provided truthful information, and completed the process properly, your citizenship is typically secure. Even in cases where action is taken, the goal is not to punish honest individuals, but to address situations where citizenship was granted based on false information. There is also another area that often creates confusion and unnecessary worry. This relates to associations and the groups people are connected with. Another area that often raises questions is the impact of the groups someone joins and the choices they make after becoming a U.S. citizen. In very limited and serious situations, citizenship may come under review if a person becomes involved with organizations that are openly hostile toward the United States or that promote violence against it. This is not about having opinions, disagreeing with policies, or expressing criticism. It is not about peaceful activism, religious beliefs, cultural identity, or participation in community groups. What matters in these rare cases is intent. Specifically, whether someone aligns themselves with organizations whose goals involve harming or overthrowing the United States. There have been instances where individuals joined extremist groups, supported hostile foreign governments, or engaged in activities that clearly conflicted with U.S. national security. In such situations, authorities may examine whether the oath of allegiance taken during naturalization was genuine. Sometimes this type of review happens within the first few years after someone becomes a citizen. The reasoning is that actions taken shortly after naturalization may reflect a person's true intentions at the time they applied. However, it is very important to understand that this does not apply to the vast majority of people. Living outside the United States does not trigger this. Traveling abroad does not trigger this. Maintaining strong cultural or family ties to another country does not trigger this. Even holding strong political opinions does not automatically create risk. These cases involve extreme and unusual circumstances. They are handled through formal legal processes with careful review, not based on rumors or social media claims. If you built your life honestly, followed the law, and took your oath sincerely, then these rules are not aimed at you. They exist for rare and serious situations, not for everyday individuals living normal lives. So when you hear alarming stories or headlines, take a moment to look deeper. Ask whether the situation involved serious wrongdoing, deception, or harm to the United States. In most cases, that explains everything. Now let's shift to a much more common and often misunderstood topic: dual citizenship. Today, millions of Americans legally hold citizenship in more than one country. Some were born abroad and later naturalized in the United States. Others were born in the U.S. to foreign parents and inherited citizenship from both countries. In general, the United States allows dual citizenship, and having two passports does not automatically create any problem. You can travel, maintain family connections, celebrate your cultural background, and stay connected to more than one place. For many people, this is a meaningful and positive part of their identity. That said, there are a few rare situations where dual citizenship can become complicated. These usually involve taking on an official role in another government or making a formal declaration that rejects loyalty to the United States. For example, becoming a high-level official in a foreign government that conflicts with U.S. interests or formally pledging exclusive allegiance to another country could raise questions. Even in those situations, nothing happens automatically. There is review, analysis, and legal consideration. Simply renewing a foreign passport, voting in certain elections abroad, or maintaining family relationships in another country generally does not affect your U.S. citizenship. The key factor is intention, whether a person clearly intended to give up their American citizenship in a formal and legal way. So if you have dual citizenship, there is usually no reason for concern. You can continue traveling, working, studying, and staying connected to your heritage. The law is not designed to punish people for honoring their roots. If you ever face a complex situation, seeking professional advice can provide clarity. Not because you should be afraid, but because understanding your situation brings peace of mind. Now let's talk about one of the most extreme and rare scenarios often mentioned in movies or headlines: losing citizenship due to actions against the United States, such as treason. This is the rarest category of all. In very limited circumstances, a person may face both criminal charges and the possibility of losing citizenship if they actively support an enemy government, participate in armed rebellion, or commit acts considered treason. These are not everyday situations. They involve serious investigations, strong evidence, and lengthy court proceedings. Nothing happens quickly or secretly. A judge carefully reviews the case, and the individual has full legal rights throughout the process. For most people, this situation will never be relevant. Studying abroad, expressing political opinions, criticizing leaders, or discussing global issues does not come close to treason. Everyday life decisions, travel, and personal beliefs do not put your citizenship at risk. Treason involves extreme actions with serious consequences, and it must be clearly proven in court before any decision is made. The reason these laws exist is that every country protects its national security. However, they are rarely used and are not intended to target ordinary people living their lives. Now let's take a moment to talk about individuals who were born in the United States. This is another area where misinformation can create unnecessary fear. If you were born in the United States or most of its territories, your citizenship is generally very strong and protected by the Constitution. In almost all situations, it cannot be taken away simply because you traveled, lived abroad, made mistakes, or faced immigration-related issues within your family. The only extremely rare exception involves fraud at the very beginning, such as falsified birth records or deliberate schemes to create the appearance of a U.S. birth when it did not actually occur. These cases are uncommon and difficult to prove. They usually involve organized fraud, not ordinary families. So if you were born in the United States, your citizenship is not fragile. It does not disappear because of misunderstandings or your parents' immigration status at the time of your birth. The law is designed to protect individuals born in the country, and in the rare event of fraud, cases go through a long legal process involving evidence, court review, and appeals, not quick or arbitrary decisions. It's important to remember this, especially if you've come across alarming claims online. Most of the time, there is no reason to worry. Being informed is helpful, but fear is not. Now that we've covered the rare circumstances where citizenship can be questioned, let's shift to something that affects far more people every day: immigration processing and updates. If you're currently waiting for a decision, you already know how stressful the process can feel. Checking your case status, refreshing your email, and hearing different stories online can quickly become overwhelming. That's why it's important to focus on clear, realistic information rather than speculation. Across many categories, USCIS is still working through backlogs that have built up over the years. Some applications are moving faster, while others are taking longer than expected. For example, certain employment-based cases and work permits have improved in some locations, while family-based petitions in busy areas may still experience delays. This does not mean there is something wrong with your case. It usually reflects the workload of the office handling your file. When your status shows actively being reviewed, it often means your case is in line, not forgotten. And if you don't see updates for a while, it can be frustrating, but it is still a normal part of the process. The best approach is to stay organized, keep your documents ready, monitor your account, and respond quickly if additional information is requested. Constantly checking your status every hour won't speed things up, but staying prepared will help you move forward smoothly when the time comes. You don't need to measure your situation against someone else's timeline. Every case moves at its own pace, and a lack of updates does not automatically mean something is wrong. Let's now talk about visas, an area that raises many questions for students, workers, visitors, and families planning to travel. Starting with work visas, categories such as H-1B, L-1, and their dependent visas continue to see very high demand. When demand increases, processing times can feel slower. Some applicants receive decisions quickly, especially when premium processing is used, while others may wait longer due to background checks or additional review. A delay does not always mean a rejection. It often just means your application is going through extra verification steps. For international students on F1 visas, preparation is key. Timing matters because universities, embassies, and immigration offices all follow structured schedules. Staying enrolled full-time, following program rules, and maintaining communication with your school's international office can help you avoid unnecessary complications. For visitor visas like B1 or B2, the focus is usually on clarity. Officers want to understand your purpose of travel, your plans, and whether you intend to return home after your visit. There is no perfect answer or script. Honesty, preparation, and confidence matter most. Family-based travel can be especially emotional. Many applications are tied to important life moments like weddings, health situations, or reunions. When delays happen, whether it's interview rescheduling or requests for additional documents, it can feel deeply personal. But in most cases, these delays are procedural, not punitive. Remaining patient and responding carefully is often more helpful than reacting out of stress or frustration. Now let's talk about green cards, which represent long-term stability for many individuals and families. The process can take time, and timelines vary depending on factors such as visa category, country of origin, and the office handling the case. Some applicants move forward faster than expected, while others wait longer. Both situations are normal. In family-based categories, particularly for immediate relatives, some locations have improved processing times, while others still experience delays. Employment-based categories can shift throughout the year as visa availability changes. Priority dates may move forward, pause, or even go backward. When dates retrogress, it can feel discouraging, but this is part of how the system manages demand. It doesn't mean your opportunity is gone, only that the timeline has adjusted. Interviews are another step that often causes anxiety. Many people worry about saying the wrong thing or forgetting details. In reality, interviews are meant to confirm information, not trap applicants. Officers typically ask about your background, relationships, work, and personal history. The most important thing is honesty. If you're unsure about something, it's better to say so calmly than to guess. If additional documents are needed, USCIS will usually send a formal request. While that can feel stressful, it's a common part of the process and does not automatically indicate a denial. Staying organized, keeping copies of your records, and approaching each step with patience can make a big difference. Travel is another area where uncertainty often arises, especially for those with pending applications. Before traveling, it's important to understand your current status and whether re-entry is permitted. If you're using advance parole or traveling with a pending case, follow all instructions carefully. Carry your documents, allow extra time, and be ready to answer basic questions. For temporary visitors, the same principle applies. Be honest about your purpose, show ties to your home country, and ensure your plans match your visa type. Sometimes travelers are directed to secondary inspection. While this can feel intimidating, it is often routine. Officers may simply need to verify information or review records. Staying calm, respectful, and cooperative usually helps the process move smoothly. It's also important to remember that border decisions are based on rules, not personal judgments about who you are. Looking at the bigger picture, immigration today involves many moving parts. Policies evolve, forms change, fees may increase, and digital systems continue to expand. Online tools for submitting documents and tracking cases have made some things easier, but they can also feel confusing at times. If you feel unsure, take your time. Read instructions carefully and double-check your information before submitting anything. Avoid reacting to rumors or pressure that suggests immediate action is always required. In most situations, you have time to review and correct. honest mistakes. It's also important to acknowledge the emotional side of this journey. Immigration is not just paperwork. It represents your future, your family, your goals, and your sense of stability. Some days will feel hopeful, while others may feel overwhelming. That's completely natural. Many people have gone through similar experiences, often facing delays and uncertainty, yet still reaching their goals in the end. Staying informed may not remove all stress, but it can help you feel more grounded and prepared. As we bring everything together, let's return to the main point. U.S. citizenship is strong, meaningful, and well protected. While there are situations where it can be lost, those cases are rare and usually involve clear intent, serious fraud, or actions that directly contradict the oath taken during naturalization. For individuals who followed the rules, were honest, and built their lives with integrity, citizenship is generally secure. Awareness is helpful, but fear is not necessary. At the same time, immigration processes, whether visas, green cards, or naturalization, can be complex and sometimes slow. Timelines shift, rules evolve, and delays happen. If you feel confused, impatient, or frustrated, know that these feelings are completely normal. What matters most is staying informed, being truthful, and giving yourself patience throughout the process. Behind every case is a real person. A student planning a future, a family seeking unity, a worker contributing skills, or a couple waiting to live together. And there are also citizens who simply want to understand how the system works. If that's you, remember that knowledge brings clarity, and clarity helps you make better decisions. Everything shared here is for understanding, not legal advice. Every immigration journey is unique. If you face a complicated situation, professional guidance can provide reassurance. And if things are going smoothly, staying informed helps you stay confident. No matter where you are in your journey, your story matters. You deserve clear, respectful, and accurate information. So, here's the key takeaway. U.S. citizenship is not something that disappears easily. It is stable, protected, and valued. While rare exceptions exist, they are handled carefully through formal legal processes, not rumors or assumptions. At the same time, immigration pathways require patience, organization, and awareness. Even when progress feels slow, many people eventually reach their goals. If this helped you feel more informed or at ease, that's what matters most. Immigration can be stressful, but taking it step by step can help you stay prepared. If you'd like more updates on U.S. immigration, visas, and citizenship topics, you can continue following along. And if you have a question or experience to share, your voice could help someone else going through a similar situation. Thank you for your time and trust. Take care, stay patient, and keep moving forward.